Andrew Linley, Group Head of Commercial and Product at CloudClevr, and I'm joined by Martin White, who's the Product Manager from Giacom. We're here to talk about the PSTN Switch Off. The price hikes are here now, so you need to act now. Just a slight introduction who Giacom are. Giacom are the biggest distributor in the UK for telecoms and cloud, effectively the engine room behind a lot of what we deliver, bringing the scale, the supplier relationships, and the platform that let us give all of you a better service and sharper pricing. I'm going to hand over to Martin to do a quick introduction on what's coming with the switch off, where it is, how close we are, what needs to be done, and then we'll go into a bit of a Q&A.
Thanks, Andrew, and thanks for letting us speak to your wider community about what's happening in the switch off. I think it's really paramount that all of the supply chain is speaking in harmony on this, so it's really crucial that everyone takes this and acts together on this. So the main bit of information here is the deadline date of January 2027. This has been set by Openreach and there's no anticipated further changes. Appreciate there might be people out in the industry that have said, oh, there's going to be a move back, there's going to be more move backs. That date is set in stone for January 2027. And what we've actually been saying here is, rather than wait all the way until January 2027, is aim for September 2026 instead, or even earlier. Even earlier is even better, right, Andrew? That's what we're trying to say. Because the last thing any of us want to be impacted by is engineering resource bottlenecks as we move towards the festive period where we end up with porting freezers, and then it'll be a rush to the bottom on engineering resource as well. So anything you can do to get ahead of the curve, all the better there. And more reasoning on that is we've actually noticed as an industry a 45% increase in incidents on legacy PSTN infrastructure, and that's only going to ramp up as we progress. It's massively cost impactful, and it's really difficult to get those parts now to maintain that infrastructure. So we need to move on to all IP solutions. And the amount of lines that are left to move is actually at 2.3 million. That's across the entirety of the UK. It's a huge number. And on average, we're only moving about 42,000 per week, which is going to take us way past that January deadline. So anything we can do to move forwards, that's the way to do it. Out of that 2.3 million, we're still at around the 475,000 business lines as well. So if we just ignore the residential market for now, that's a large number of businesses across the UK that are going to be massively impacted by this. So whether they've got underpinning connectivity on ADSL or FTTC, that will cease to function going forward. If you are able to move to an all-IP solution today, that's the way to do it. So we're looking at the weeks to go. It's only 40 weeks until January, which isn't a long time at all. And if we think about that in working days, that volume is the working days we've got is going to be massively reduced what we can operate in with all the bank holidays this year. So it's the Openreach endgame for PSTN. So it's not just driven by us as Giacom. This is a mass industry thing, and Openreach are going to be putting multiple price increases up this year, which will flow all the way down the supply chain as well. And the main point we're saying here today, and every day until we get to that day, is at before it's too late.
Yeah, well, the price increases, as you mentioned, we've had the 20%. That's pretty much happening now, and there's 40% and 40%. So anyone that's sort of hanging around with legacy lines is really going to feel the pinch on this. And as you rightly pointed out, this is not us, this is not you, this is Openreach. They're switching the network off. They want people off the network. They need to take that copper out of the ground. They're going to make people pay for it right up until switch off. So it's a case of, January is the deadline. You want September. We'd ideally like June. So we're working with our customers to try and get it done as soon as we can. So what are the timelines then? What's specifically happening when, Martin?
So we've kind of just alluded to some of these already, Andrew, but it's always good to set the scene and get a bit more narrative for the wider audience here. So from November last year, Openreach announced plans for these quarterly price increases, and we've just mentioned one already. From December, there was a rules change where Openreach contractually are allowed to give 90 days notice on these price increases. So as you can see on the timeline here, these price increases are going to be coming at a quarterly basis throughout 2026. So as we're moving now into April, the first 20% increase is coming on legacy services. July, there's going to be a further 40%, and then come October, that's a further 40%. So that's 100% increase of what it is today, which is why it's absolutely paramount to get ahead of the curve. And as we can see here, from January 27, as we've just mentioned, there's a withdrawal of WLR and the closure of the PSTN network. So as I mentioned briefly, if you've got legacy broadband that's underpinned by the WLR, that'll cease working. If there's multi-lines or any ISDN services, those also cease to function. And then if we're looking beyond January 2027, we've got the whatever's left, and in an ideal scenario in industry, this is like a worst case scenario, is anything on the WLR side of things from a PSTN side of things only, we'll move on to a solution called EVAC, which is emergency voice access. It's going to be very basic what you can do there. You'll still be able to dial 999, make basic calls and receive some calls, but all of your traditional select services that you have on your phone line today, most of those are not supported on here. And the most important bit is, if you do have broadband, as I've mentioned, on that WLR, that is not supported at all on EVAC, and neither is multi-line or ISDN.
Yeah, and we can assume as well that Openreach, when they bring out the EVAC product and move what's left to it, that price is going to further go up as well. So there's no benefit to a business of not doing this. It's Openreach announced it in, I think, 2016. You guys have been talking about it for 10 years. We've been talking about it for 10 years. We've kind of got to a point now with customers where it's not a nice to have and you're going to get in front of everyone. You're going to be paying a lot of money and you're going to lose your services. So that's what these timelines represent now. It's moved on from it sounding like a sales pitch to it's an operational impact on the business now. Which moves us nicely on to the upgrade paths. So what are the upgrade paths? It's one of those where some customers are on one product, some customers are on different products. They might have fiber in an exchange, they might not have fiber in an exchange. So it's if we can give an outline, obviously when we're speaking to customers, we go into quite significant detail. But what's the outline of what an upgrade path looks like for the different products?
I mean, as you mentioned here, Andrew, it'll vary depending on the customer nuances and needs. Now, we'd like to focus it on future solutions, future all IP world. All of our legacy technologies are here on the left-hand side. So you've got your traditional voice and phone lines, your ISDNs, and your legacy broadband. As we've moved ahead as a nation and as an industry, a lot of these solutions have been out for a good many number of years, but like the nuances behind them, the support behind them have massively increased in the past few years in relation to Switch Off. So if we look at the broadband side of things first, all IP single order broadband solutions are fiber to the premises and SAGIA single order generic Ethernet access. We love an acronym in this industry, right? But basically, SAGIA is your all IP equivalent of FTTC. It's a hybrid solution of copper and fiber, so that'll carry on working as it should do. Your speed limits are there. Now, FTTP is the ultimate upgrade. You can transmit speed on your broadband side of things as fast as the speed of light, and we're only just scratching the surface of speeds we'll be able to unlock as an industry going forwards. The other elements there, as you can see from the voice replacement side of things, your traditional PSTN or your traditional phone line that offices will have, or your residential users, would move on to what we call a single line IP voice. So pure PSTN replacement, like for like, and there's various solutions out there. CloudClevr obviously have their own solutions in their portfolio, which is accessible to your customer base, where it will emulate analog functionality and support more advanced handsets as well. SIP, again, SIP's been there for a long time as well, and SIP allows you to do your single line IP voice at a higher level, and then you've also got your other solutions such as Teams, like lots of us use in an office scenario now. We can communicate from across the country. We're not all chained to our desks as we once were. Once upon a time, we've got flexible working, which means we're able to optimize in a bit more wider fashion as we were unable to do historically. And then you've got unified comms as a service. There's multiple things out there. You've got your AI integration that comes into this. There's so many tools and enhancements. We could spend a full day talking about this as well, Andrew, but obviously your portfolio, we can unlock and discuss that with your end user base by all means.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to touch on sort of what is out there that is really going to be impacted, we've just covered off future technology moves from what is legacy, so what are the legacy lines moving to. We sort of this slide touches on, and I'll let you walk through it, Martin, because you understand it well. What's going to stop working, and what do people really have to think about an alternative solution for? Because it's not just a case of flick from one thing to another. You really have to put some effort into some of this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we'll explore this a little bit later on as well, but it's understanding it's not just a phone line at the end of the day. There might be what we call edge cases across industry, and there's a handful of examples here, but there's hundreds across the UK. Some key ones here, your phone lines that, all these things here are reliant on a phone line traditionally. So your lifts, intercom systems, traditional alarms, your door entries, even things at a petrol station for monitoring, parking barriers, even things for monitoring gas pipes, monitoring water levels in reservoirs. There's so many things out there across the UK infrastructure that is reliant on these PSTN-based solutions. Now, as we've mentioned, there's multiple solutions to evolve these into an all-IP world. There's obviously a GSM or an IoT mobile approach. So you can use mobile technology here. Your 4G, 5G elements will work, but then you've got to realize as well, it might be great for a lift scenario, but what if you're in a poor mobile signal? If that lift was traditionally installed in a basement, how are you going to emulate that with mobile? Or it might be in a grade 2 listed building. You can't stick an antenna on the roof. So it's understanding all the nuances. And there's unfortunately not a one box fits all. There's some level of needing to do potential site surveys, understanding a mission statement for these particular end users, how they can move ahead into the future. But like your lift line side of things as well, you'd look at emulating your existing analog infrastructure. You're not going to be ripping all that cabling out in the building. You're emulating the analog that's there. There's devices out there called ATAs, an analog terminal adapter, which will allow you to convert your analog signal into a digital signal. And most routers these days include those as well. So everything going forwards either goes down the mobile route or it's underpinned by future-proof connectivity.
Yeah. So at this point, we've sort of been through why people need to do it from a monetary point of view, why people need to do it from a technological point of view, what's happening, when it's happening. Hopefully at this point, if people are not already scared and already on the phone or chat to us about how they do this, then what does a business need to do? So we've kind of set the outline. We've said this is happening. It needs to be done now. It's not nice to have anymore. What's the checklist? What do businesses need to do immediately? What are they walking off from this call and doing?
We've been using the 6 A's for a long time as Giacom, and obviously you as CloudClevr have emulated this as well. Now, realistically, we should have all been done, analyze your assets. That should have been done a long time ago in an ideal world to get things moved, but I appreciate the complexities of the supply chain. Understanding your assets, how many have you got, how many ISDN, multi-line, analog, legacy broadband, etc. Then it's acknowledging what's on the line. We've just covered stuff like lift lines, alarms, and everything else. Have you got things like that sat on top of these lines? So it's understanding that and then planning ahead with that level of detail. Arrange and prepare for migration. So that's clear, concise comms. What's going to change on site for your end user? Do we need an upgrade? Do we need new routers, new additional hardware, etc. to function? Adhere to best practice guidelines. So this is we created a lot of our own best practice guidelines from the information provided to us by Openreach and Ofcom, and that's obviously passed down into the likes of yourself and your customer base as well. So, there's different ones for residential customers, there's different ones for business customers, and there's a lot of comparisons and crossover between those, but ultimately at the end of the day, it's giving your customer the best experience through clear, concise communications and all relevant stakeholders updated every step of the way. Action is what we're saying to start your all IP journey. Everyone should really be at this point now with the amount we need to move across industry. And the main bit is accelerating by winning all IP by getting ahead of the curve. So this is getting ahead of these deadlines that are coming, ahead of these price increases, and ultimately it's getting advantage over taking other people's existing businesses if they have not capitalized and move across into an all IP world. And then there's the element of adding value add services on top of that. Have you got monitoring trad on there? Have you got failovers? And it's not just a direct like for like replacement of I used to sell you a phone line and a broadband. It's everything else you can wrap around alongside that too.
Yeah. So I think it's one of those where CloudClevr have been pushing this agenda, not quite calling it the 6 A's, but essentially this for a long time now. And it's one of those where some customers will be seeing this and smugly going, "Yep, done this, fine, don't care." And the others will be looking at this and realizing, CloudClevr have been trying to tell us about this for a long time, and now I actually need to do this because it's going to start costing my business money. Going to have more faults on my lines, going to have loss of service, and it's just the place to be. So it's we can help businesses. We've got a checklist, sort of a form of how we'll sit down with you. I'm not going to read through it word for word, but how we'd sit down with a customer and walk them through what they've got, what's going to get impacted, where might be we need to look, fax machines, PDQs, alarm lines, lift lines, sort of the edge cases that Martin spoke about earlier on. And yeah, it's one of those where we will look at every sort of nook and cranny and make sure that the right technology gets put in. But importantly, it's a case of we do need customers to engage with this. We need to work together to make sure this is done. We appreciate telecoms is not your first line as a business, and it's not always important, but communication with your customers, your internet connection are hugely important. Therefore, we need to work together to get this one sorted out. Have you got anything to add to this discovery form, Martin?
It's just those other bits and pieces that are crucial in here. If someone is using a fax machine and everything else, there's also the element of, is anyone out there using a telecare pendant or anything like that? It's another crucial thing across industry. Everyone's loved ones need to upgrade on this journey. So if you're not having your conversations as a business, get your loved ones talking about this as well. And there's other bits and pieces here. People might be consuming services that aren't directly through CloudClevr. So CloudClevr can help, amalgamate all this in as a one-stop shop location as well. You might just currently consume voice through CloudClevr. Now, obviously, CloudClevr can support with broadband and everything else. And there's, as we've said, there's not a one box fits all. This is a framing to help you move forwards in all IP with CloudClevr.
Thank you, Martin. Next steps. So anyone that's listening, anyone that's sort of reviewing this or seeing any sound bites of it, the next step is book your free discovery call. It's not rocket science. Just give us a call, drop us a message. We'll get in touch with you. We'll go through the 6 A's framework, go through the discovery form. We'll make sure that all your assets as a company are there, future-proofed. We'll work together to avoid the future price increases on the legacy technology from Openreach, and we'll just get you on the right path where you need to be. And I think that is us done. So I just want to say thank you very much, Martin, for joining us. It's been a pleasure to sort of get the industry view on this, because obviously as CloudClevr, we're one company. And yeah, this hopefully supports our customers in the journey that they're on.